In this video, we're going to be covering the topic of server-side includes. Server-side includes is a technique that is used to package your code. If you're going to be reusing your code in different places on different pages, you can encapsulate that, save those packages as separate files, and then call them up as you need them. So when you make a change to that package, you only make that change once. And if you include these packages in 100 pages, if you want to change that package, you only change the one file, and it then gets referred to in the 100 pages. So it's more of a convenience than a necessity. In order to make server-side includes work, the first item, or the first thing that you need to be aware of, is that you must be online and you must be connected to the server. It's called server-side includes for a reason, because these things happen on the server. The server is actually doing the work of a server-side include. So you must install the work on the server and you must be online. Secondly, the server must support includes, and this isn't always the case. We're using a server called Apache, which is the most widely used web server in the world. And I'm not going to get into the details about how to find out if your server supports server-side includes or not. If it's Apache, chances are it does. You may have to make changes to a file called .htaccess, which we'll take a look at in a minute. Then you have to cut and paste the items that you want to reuse into separate files, and then you have to refer to them in your HTML pages. So let's get started on that. First thing is, in Text Wrangler, you have the ability to open files from an FTP SFTP server. And so if you're working on the server, you can use Text Wrangler to log in, and I will connect. And here is the contents of the server. This is our website. Now, if I go into the browser and I look up scad.ca/2510ml, your directory will be 2510 something something. Then this brings up the index page. That is this document here. I'm going to ask it to actually open up carousel.html, because this is the file that we have prepared in an earlier video. And here's the carousel. And I've decided that I want to reuse this carousel in several other pages. So let's open up the page, double click on it, and it's now downloading that from the server, and I'm now looking at the copy that's on the server. So here is my code, and I'm going to copy that, and just to be safe, I'm going to comment it, which will disable it. But I've got a copy of this code, and I'm going to create a new text document, and I'm going to paste the code in. And I'll just shift that left a few times. There we go. And I'm going to save this on the server as lightbox.inc. So to save to the server. Now, before I actually save it, I'm going to create a new folder called SSI for server-side includes, It doesn't matter really what the directory name is. You can call it Fred if you want. Some people use includes, but I'm going to use SSI. And then I'm going to save this piece of code as lightbox.inc. .inc for include. The next step is to replace what I've commented out with a reference to the code in the SSI directory called lightbox.inc. And that looks like this. Pound include virtual equals, and then the location and name of the file, SSI/lightbox.inc, and then end that with these characters. The color doesn't change because it is actually commented out. The reason it's commented out is because the browser will not actually see this. This will be interpreted by the server as a direction to replace this piece of code with this piece of code. And this will happen on the server. The user will not be aware that this happens. So let's save back to the server. I'm going to overwrite that. Now, what's changed? As far as the user is concerned, nothing has changed. If we view this, you can see that here's the include, and here is the code that we commented out. But if we look at the code that we have created, you can see that this has been replaced by this. Let's go back into Carousel and just get rid of this commented text, just to keep things clean. So here I have an include. I could, if I have, say, footers throughout my website. Say I've got 1,000 pages, each with the same footer. This is a good candidate for creating a server-side include. So I take it out and put it into an include, and then add my include code here to replace it when the page is called for by the user. The nice thing about this, if I have 1,000 pages, is that the copyright often changes every year. So in January 1st of 2014, I will want to change this number to 2014. Currently it's 2013. 2014 rolls around. I don't want to do this in 1,000 pages. But if I go to my include, change it there, I only change it once, and then that change is included in 1,000 pages. So it's a great system if you've got a large website, you make use of server-side includes, it can save you a lot of work. The one thing that I wanted to show you was the thing called htaccess. Now, with the server that you're using, I'm not exactly sure if the server by default supports server-side includes, but I've made certain through the use of a file called .htaccess, this guy here. If you click on this checkbox, show items starting with a dot, in Linux systems as well as with Macintosh OS, there are files on your system that begin with a dot, and the dot makes them invisible. You can make them visible by clicking on this checkbox, and you can see them listed here. By double-clicking on it, you can view the htaccess contents, and this is the code that I'm using to ensure that I can use server-side includes. The specific thing is here. Options, includes, tells the server, okay, I want to use includes. All of your server accounts have this bit in your htaccess. You can go ahead and take a look at it. I highly recommend that you don't change anything in the htaccess, because this is a very good way of making your site inaccessible, and it's actually one way that people can hack into websites and redirect websites to other places. And that's a good reason why htaccess is actually hidden, using this dot in front of the file name. So we'll close that up. And that's a little bit about how to use server-side includes.